Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. In a tit-for-tat move against Russian leader Dmitry Medvedev, US President Trump orders 2 nuke submarines in appropriate regions. Russia issues retaliatory statement. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits Varanasi, inaugurates key development projects worth nearly 2,200 crore. Pacers Prasidh Krishna and Mohammad Siraj put India in driver's seat in 5th and final test at the Oval. Crucial third day awaits exciting face-off. Tension between the US and Russia has escalated this week as US President Donald Trump and former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev exchanged threatening statements. In response to threats from Medvedev, Trump on Friday said he has ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in the appropriate regions. In a social media post on Truth Social, Trump said words are very important and can often lead to unintended consequences. He hoped this will not be one of those instances. A day earlier, Medvedev said Trump should remember that Moscow possessed Soviet-era nuclear strike capabilities of last resort. Asked by reporters why he ordered the submarine movement, Trump said a threat was made by a former president of Russia and they're going to protect people.
Oh yeah, well, we had to do that. We just have to be careful. And a threat was made and we didn't think it was appropriate, so I have to be very careful. So I do that on the basis of safety for our people. A threat was made by a former president of Russia, and we're going to protect our people.
Speaking to the reporter about the trade tariff, US President Trump said he might consider giving dividends from tariffs revenue to citizens. Since he arrived in office at the beginning of the year, Trump's imposed trade tariffs on several countries, claiming it will help reduce debt and inflation.
There are a lot of people that would like to see us do sort of a dividend to the people of our country. It's something I'd consider. How much would I want to pay off debt, but there's a possibility I'd do a dividend.
And speaking to reporters at the White House, US President Trump said on Friday that Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula Silva can call him anytime to discuss tariffs and other friction between the countries. Later, calling Trump's remarks great, Brazil Finance Minister Fernando Haddad said he's sure Lula feels the same and would be willing to receive a call from the US president. In a post on X, Lula also said Brazil has always been open to dialogue, although he did not mention Trump nor his earlier remarks. Earlier, Trump slapped a 50% tariff on Brazil with many exemptions starting next week to fight what he has called a witch hunt against former President Jair Bolsonaro.
I think it's great, and I'm sure the feeling is mutual. President Lula would be willing to receive a phone call from him whenever he wanted as well. As I said before, it's very important that we prepare for this meeting, for this conversation. Today, once again, I had contact with US Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent's team, so we can have a meeting next week. So finally, the longer meeting is more focused on the unilateral decision of the United States regarding Brazil. We will be able to exchange ideas on all topics, including this one.
Brazilians holding protests across several cities denouncing the US president's politically motivated trade tariffs. Anti-Trump protests were held in Brasilia, Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro, a sign of souring ties between two of America's largest economies. US President Donald Trump said his Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff had a great meeting on Gaza food aid.
I did. I spoke to Steve Witkoff. He had a great meeting with a lot of people, and the primary meeting was on food. And he also had some other conversations that I'll tell you about later. But he had a meeting on getting the people fed, and that's what we want. And I'll see you later on.
Witkoff visited a US-backed aid operation in Gaza on Friday, saying he sought to get food and other aid to people there. The site is run by the US and Israel-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation in Rafah, where Israel has been fighting Hamas. Witkoff's visit comes as Israel announced the airdropped 126 food aid packages into Gaza on Friday, targeting residents in both southern and northern Gaza. This operation was a joint effort with 6 countries: UAE, Jordan, Egypt, Spain, France and Germany. The Federal Reserve announced Friday that Governor Adriana Kugler to resign early from her term and will exit the central bank on 8th of August. The Fed said in a statement that Kugler, who became a governor in September 2023, will leave before her term's conclusion, which was scheduled for 31st of January 2026. Kugler will return to Georgetown University as a professor next autumn. Kugler's early departure may shake up the timeline for the succession process now surrounding Chair Jerome Powell, whose term ends next May. Trump says he's happy about open spot on Fed board after Kugler resigns.
Yeah, one of the governors, as you know, of the Federal Reserve has just announced she's resigning. I understand it was over the fact that she disagreed with somebody from her party. She disagreed with Too Late. You know who Too Late is? Yeah. She disagreed with Too Late on the interest rate. So we'll see what happens. But we just found out that I have a open spot on the Federal Reserve Board. I'm very happy about that, John.
Whereas in an interview with Newsmax, US President Donald Trump has said that Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell will most likely stay in his position, even as Trump sharply criticized the Federal Reserve's policies. Trump said he would remove Powell because the Fed's interest rate was too high, but also added that others have said Powell's removal would disturb the market. He gets out in 7 or 8 months and I'll put somebody else in, Trump said. 4 people were shot and killed Friday after in an open firing at the Owl Bar in Anaconda, Montana. Manhunt for the suspect, identified as 45-year-old Michael Paul Brown, who lived next door to the bar, is underway. What led to the shooting remains unclear as FBI helps police in the investigation. Governor of Montana is closely monitoring the situation and urged prayers for the victims, their families and the law enforcement officers responding. So far in 2025, there have been about 256 mass shootings in the US, including Friday's shooting in Anaconda, while around 503 incidents were reported in last year. Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo on Friday agreed on an outline for the Regional Economic Integration Framework as the two countries take steps toward delivering on a peace deal signed in Washington in June. The tenets agreed on Friday summarize the framework, which includes elements of cooperation on energy, infrastructure, mineral supply chains, national parks and public health, the State Department said in a statement. Rwanda and Congo signed a peace deal in Washington in June at talks held by US President Donald Trump's administration, which aims to bring an end to fighting that has killed thousands and attract billions of dollars of Western investment to a region rich in tantalum, gold, cobalt, copper, lithium and other minerals. As part of the deal, Kinshasa and Kigali agreed to launch a regional economic integration framework within 90 days, the agreement said. In Ethiopia's war-impacted Oromia region, people in remote villages are gradually regaining access to healthcare after almost 2 years of disruption, though the effects of the conflict still linger. A health center in Ethiopia's West Welega zone has reopened after nearly 2 years of conflict-related closure. During the shutdown, residents relied on improvised transport to access care. While services have resumed, medicine shortages persist. A nearby hospital is also recovering, though much of its equipment was destroyed and medicine transport remains difficult due to continued insecurity. The International Committee of the Red Cross has been supporting health facilities in the region, providing medical, supplies, training and logistical support. The conflict between federal forces and Oromo Liberation Army has displaced many and disrupted essential services. 11 people, including a former minister, were arrested in Serbia on Friday over a train station disaster in which 16 people died. The concrete canopy of the newly renovated station in the northern city of Novi Sad collapsed on 1st of November 2024 in a disaster widely blamed on corruption and poor oversight. It sparked a wave of student-led protests and led to the resignation of Prime Minister Milos Vucevic and the fall of his government. The public prosecutor's office in Novi Sad opened an investigation into the accident and deaths. The 11 include former Construction, Transport and Infrastructure Minister Tomislav Momirovic, as well as former acting director of the state-run Serbian railway infrastructure company Nebojša Surlan, prosecutors said. A Florida jury on Friday found Tesla liable in a deadly 2019 crash involving its autopilot system and ordered the company to pay a staggering $329 million in damages to the victim's family. The payout includes $129 million of compensatory damages and $200 million of punitive damages. Tesla was sued by the estate of Nibel Benavides Leon and by her former boyfriend Dylan Angulo. The lawsuit stemmed from a 2019 crash when George McGee drove his 2019 Tesla Model S and slammed into a parked Chevrolet Tahoe. The victims were standing beside the SUV on the shoulder. Negotiators will take another stab at reaching a global pact on plastic pollution at talks opening on Tuesday in Geneva, but they face deep divisions over how to tackle the health and ecological hazard. The coming 10 days of talks involving delegates from nearly 180 nations follows a failure to reach a deal last December on how to stop millions of tons of plastic waste entering the environment each year. Plastic pollution is so ubiquitous that microplastics have been found on the highest mountain peak, in the deepest ocean trench, and scattered throughout almost every part of the human body. In 2022, countries agreed they would find a way to address the crisis by the end of 2024, but the talks in Busan, South Korea, failed to overcome fundamental differences. The 16th and final Airbus C295 military transport aircraft has been handed over to the Indian Air Force. Now the remaining 40 C295 aircrafts will be built at the Airbus facility in Gujarat. DD India's Atma Bharat gets us this report from Spain.
We're in the heart of Europe's aerospace hub, Sevilla, where a significant milestone has been reached between India-Spain Defence Cooperation. The final and 16th Airbus C295 military transport aircraft has been ceremonially handed over to the Indian Air Force.
Under the Make in India initiative, the remaining 40 C295 aircrafts are going to be built at the Airbus facility in Gujarat. The facility was launched by Tata Advanced Systems Limited and formally inaugurated in October 2024 by Prime Minister Modi and Spanish Prime Minister Sanchez. The C295 is a versatile transport aircraft capable of carrying up to 71 troops, conducting airdrops, cargo missions, medical evacuation, and operating from short unpaved runways, ideal for India's diverse geography.
Right now, we'll move to the more important part, which is the 40 aircraft that are to be built and integrated in India. This is part of the Make in India program of Prime Minister Modi, which has actually seen one of the best projects that we can work on in the world today. And we are going to see over the next 5 to 6 years, 40 aircraft to be built in India. This not only will create an ecosystem for building aircraft, but it will also make sure that most of the parts of an aircraft are built in India too.
Airbus and Tata described this landmark deal as a cornerstone for Atma Bharat, highlighting India's self-reliance in boosting its defense power by creating around 15,000 high-skilled direct jobs, around 10,000 indirect jobs, and integrating 125 domestic MSMEs into the aerospace supply chain.
We delivered aircraft number 16. All the aircrafts were delivered ahead of contract, and we are very proud. The customer satisfaction is being 100%. So we reached the highest level of quality in the deliverables of these aircrafts. It's been a day of pride also because we built during all these years a team spirit with the Indian Air Force, with our dear customer, where the teams built not only transparency in the way of working, but real, true trust.
This project has strengthened India-Spain relations beyond defense cooperation. It exemplifies the growing convergence between the two nations in global supply chains and technology development. This is Atma Bharat in Spain for DD India.
And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. 2 terrorists neutralized by security forces in South Kashmir's Kulgam under Operation Akhal. Japan endures hottest July on record since 1898. Stay with us to know more about it. South Korean soccer player Son HeungMin will end his decade-long spell with the English club Tottenham Hotspur this summer.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
You're watching DD India Live. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday visited his parliamentary constituency Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh and inaugurated key development projects worth nearly rupees 2,200 crore. The development projects cover roads, hospital and schools to clean water and smart power. With this, Varanasi moves closer to the Viksit Bharat vision, blending spiritual heritage with cutting-edge progress. In a significant step towards farmer welfare, Prime Minister Modi also released the 20th installment of PM Kisan, transferring over 20,000 crore rupees to 9.7 crore farmers across the country. Under PM Modi's leadership, Indian agriculture has seen a historic shift with tech-driven reforms and strong farmer support. Addressing the gathering on the occasion, PM Modi said a grand farmers' festival was being held in Varanasi with over 20,000 crore rupees directly transferred to farmers' accounts.
यहाँ एक विराट किसान उत्सव का आयोजन हो रहा है। देश के 10 करोड़ किसान भाइयों बहनों के खातों में 21,000 करोड़ रुपए पीएम किसान सम्मान निधि के रूप में भेजे गए हैं। और जब काशी से धन जाता है ना, वो तो अपने आप प्रसाद बन जाता है।
Prime Minister Modi inquired about the flood situation in Varanasi from the Divisional Commissioner and District Magistrate of Varanasi. He also sought information about the preparedness as well as relief operations to assist people. PM Modi also inquired about the arrangements for the people in the relief camps and the people who took shelter in different places. He yet again emphasized that people who are affected should get all possible support from the local administration. On the occasion of India's Independence Day, an at-home reception is to be held at Rashtrapati Bhavan. An official invitation to attend the event sent on behalf of President Draupadi Murmu was received by Hindambi, a distinguished nurse and recipient of the 2022-23 National Florence Nightingale Award living in Lakshadweep. The invitation conveys the message that presence of such individuals who have rendered exceptional service to society would serve as an inspiration to others. The annual event, held on 15th of August, brings together inspiring people from all over India, known for their outstanding work in different walks of life. In Jammu and Kashmir, security forces have gunned down 2 terrorists under Operation Akhal in the general area of Akhal in South Kashmir's Kulgam district. In Chinar Corps of Indian Army said intermittent and intense firefight continued through the night. It added that alert troops responded with calibrated fire and tightened the noose while maintaining contact. Operation is still underway. Notably, Indian security forces have intensified their counter-terrorism operations in Jammu and Kashmir, eliminating several terrorists in separate encounters over the past few days. In a significant step towards enhancing its operational mobility and supporting the Atma Bharat initiative, the Indian Army will procure 212 state-of-the-art 50-ton tank transporters trailers from a leading technology solutions company. The contract, worth 223.95 crores, was signed with the Escalating Aerospace and Technologies Private Limited under the Buy Indian IDDM category. These next generation trailers come equipped with hydraulic or pneumatic loading ramps and steerable and liftable axles, enabling swift and efficient transportation of tanks and other armored vehicles across diverse and challenging terrain. The advanced mobility solutions offered by these platforms will act as a force multiplier for the field army, significantly enhancing its logistical and operational capabilities. This indigenous procurement not only marks a boost to the Indian defence manufacturing ecosystem, but also promises sustained employment generation. Meanwhile, apart from safeguarding the country, the Indian Army remains steadfast in its commitment to assist civil authorities during natural calamities too, continuing its dedicated flood relief operations across affected regions of Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Punjab. Flood relief column operating the actively conducting reconnaissance of affected areas to assess potential requirements for relief and support. They are also providing technical assistance for waterlogging issues due to flood-like conditions. So far, 105 civilians rescued and extended medical aid to over 300 persons. The Indian Army continued to monitor the situation closely and remains fully prepared to respond to any emergent contingencies with speed, compassion and professionalism. On to some weather updates. First up from India, the India Meteorological Department has forecast a marginal reduction in rain intensity in Delhi and NCR with very light to light rainfall expected till Sunday. However, the Met Department lifted yellow alert warning and forecasted generally cloudy sky for the national capital. Amid effective fisherman alert until August 5th along coastal areas adjoining Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal, IMD predicted isolated heavy rainfall in Tamil Nadu and Kerala over the next 5 days. Over West India, light to moderate rainfall is likely during the next 6 days. Light moderate rainfall at many places accompanied with thunderstorm, lightning and isolated heavy rainfall likely to continue over Arunachal Pradesh, Assam and Meghalaya and Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura till August 6. According to the Meteorological Department, several regions across the country will most likely receive normal rainfall in August, except parts of northeast and adjoining areas in the east. Strong storms tore through the tri-state area on Thursday, unleashing flash floods that crippled transportation in New York City and triggered a tornado warning in New Jersey. Although the waters later receded and traffic resumed, city officials continued to urge residents to stay home with rain expected to continue through the night. In response to the worsening conditions, emergency management agencies in New York and New Jersey advised against non-essential travel and warned of flooding in streets, basements and transit systems. Japan sweltered through its hottest July since records began in 1898. The weather agency has reported warning of further severe heat in the month ahead. Heat waves are becoming more intense and frequent the world over because of human-caused climate change, scientists say, and Japan is no exception. The average temperature in July was up a record 2.89 degrees Celsius from the 1991 to 2020 average for the month, the Japan Meteorological Agency said on Friday. It was the third year in a row of record-breaking average temperature for July, it said. On July 30, Japan experienced its highest recorded temperature, a sizzling 41.2 degrees Celsius in the western region of Hyogo. Precipitation in July was low over wide areas of Japan, with northern regions facing the Sea of Japan experiencing record low rainfall, it added. The rainy season ended about 3 weeks earlier than usual in western regions of Japan, another record. US stocks slumped on Friday, with the S&P on track for its biggest daily percentage decline in more than 3 months as new US tariffs on dozens of trading partners and a surprisingly weak jobs report spurred selling pressure. Also weighing on equities was a tumble in Amazon.com shares after the company posted quarterly results but failed to meet lofty expectations for its Amazon Web Services cloud computing unit. The S&P 500 lost 1.6%, while the Nasdaq Composite lost 2.24%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 1.23%. Market experts predicts the Fed will cut rates by at least 25 basis points at its September meeting. The US dollar fell in late trading on Friday. The dollar index, which measures the greenback measures against major currencies, including the yen and the euro, fell 1.37% to 98.66. The euro surged 1.52% to $1.1589, while the dollar weakened 2.26% to 147.32 against the Japanese yen. And day 2 of the 5th test between India and England saw a thrilling shift in momentum as 15 wickets tumbled after India collapsed early, posting 224. England's openers raised 209 for 1 before Mohammad Siraj and Prasidh Krishna led a fiery comeback. Both pacers claimed 4 wickets each, dismantling England for 247. Yashasvi Jaiswal's unbeaten 51 of 49 balls helped India recover to 75 for 2 by stumps, extending their lead to 52. South Korean soccer player Son HeungMin announced on Saturday that he will end his decade-long spell with Premier League club Tottenham Hotspur this summer. The 33-year-old Son, who is contracted with Spurs until 2026, played a key role in helping the club secure their first trophy in 17 years with a win over Manchester United in the Europa League final in May. He joined the North London side from Bayer Leverkusen in 2015. Although he did not reveal his next destination, reports linked Son with a potential move to Major League Soccer's Los Angeles FC. Son has made 454 appearances for Spurs and scored 173 goals. He claimed the Premier League Golden Boot during the 2021-22 season. And China's Henshu Lake National Nature Reserve is dazzling visitors this season as thousands of acres of lotus ponds burst into bloom. Known as the region's most stunning wetland, the site is home to 336 bird species and nearly 600 kinds of plants. It's a paradise for nature lovers and a perfect moment to pause and marvel at nature's artistry. And we hope you enjoy these lovely and stunning visuals. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.